cut one out, the one that I want to use. And I think I'll trim it down just a little bit. So, there it is. And I've taken the piece of wood that I showed in the previous video, and it was about 3/4 of an inch, and I wanted to make this crankbait a little chubbier. The KBDs I have are like that, and I really like them. So I cut it in half, glued 2 pieces together, planed it down to about 1.25 inches. So that'll give me enough to play with, I think. So, glue stick. And right now, as you know, I've never done this before, so I'm just mimicking the guys who really know what they're doing online. Okay, well, now to cut it out. I've got various saws and tools to do this with. I try to do things with power tools when I can, and I do have some options. So let's take a look at those, and maybe you have that too. But if not, hand tools will work. Probably just take a little longer, that's all. One of my options is to use the bandsaw. I've got a wide blade in here. To cut the detail of this out is going to take a much finer blade than that. And I do have some smaller blades, but not that small. I think that I will use this to just do the rough cut of the square part, and then I'll go to another option. My tool of choice for doing this will be the scroll saw. This is pine, a very fine blade, so it should work pretty good. Let's see. The rough cut. I've come back to the bandsaw to make the slot that the bill will be inserted into. These templates, I don't know if you can see them on camera, have lines for the eyelets, hook eyelets, and the line eyelet. But there's also a line with a correct angle for the crankbait bill, and this will be a shallow water crankbait, so it'll be a small bill on here. I've come back to the bandsaw because it makes a straight cut. It's a little wider, and I need to make it just about the right thickness for the polycarbonate that I have. Okay, here's my polycarbonate. Here's the slot. And let's see. Okay, it just squeezes in there. Nice and snug. Put a little epoxy, it should be great. I hope. The next thing I've got to do is sort of smooth this out. The scroll saw did a pretty good job, but I'm going to want to smooth this out before I start campering the edges. So I have a belt sander on here that is set up vertically so I can do the outside surfaces, and then I'll show you how we do the inside afterwards. I've got the outside edge down to the pencil line, but I do have an inside curve here, and I have another belt sander that I have set up, and I can use the rounded edge on that to do that inside curve. Okay, I think we've got that pretty good so far. Let's go from there. I've already made some small marks on where I want to taper this. So it's going to start from here and taper here, and the same thing on the other side, and it's going to taper from here down to here on this side. I've got my marks here, but I need to square them off so I get it the same on both sides. If I can do that. God, I hope those are in about the right place. I'm going to use this plastic stencil to try to draw a line on a curved surface from one mark to another. Okay, I think I got that one. And then from here to here. Okay, there they are. Now we need to bring it over to the bandsaw and cut them. Now, we're using the bandsaw for this because this would be a little tricky. It would bounce around quite a bit if I was trying to cut it on the scroll saw. And since I'm going to cut this off, I think I will peel off this template, and it peels off pretty good. And let's see what we can do here. We'll go underneath. Yeah, very good. Watch out for my fingers. Now, over to the sander. I keep checking it because I'm trying to get the contour even on both sides. And I've got it pretty good, I think. It's almost an eyeball thing here. It looks good on the top. A little bit of a bulge. I'm going to take a little bit more off right there on the bottom part. I think that did it. It seems to be even on both sides. This is going to be a chubby little bait. Oh well. Well, I'm going to do this like the guy on Marlin Baits does. I've done this in the shop with other things before, but I've never done it with this. He makes a chamfer line by eye. It's not coming out that great. But I think when I start carving it, the pencil lines won't make that much difference. It'll be a matter of trying just to get it even. While I'm doing this, for those people who don't have scroll saws and band saws, you know, straight saws and coping saws and files and what have you would work just as well. Might take a little bit longer, might actually be a little more satisfying. Some people like doing things all with hand tools anyway. I know a lot of wood craftsmen who are like that. Alas, I enjoy it too, but I just like to get her done, as we say in Maine. Maybe you say that other places too. I think there are a lot of things that are said in different places. We just think they're from where we come from. Okay, couple more lines. The next thing is to carve. I'm going to use this knife. Someday I may get myself a nice carving knife if I end up keep doing this. This is pine, so it should carve, I think, pretty good with this knife. Whoa, it's harder than I thought. I've got this vise that I keep around for when I need it for something like this. It's kind of a nice vise because it swivels and locks. And I've taken and put some tape on here, just duct tape, so that I won't damage the crankbait too much in the vise. And it holds it pretty good. And I've got two types of sandpaper here. This is just emery cloth, and it works good. What's nice about it is it's cloth, so it won't tear, because you have to pull on it. This is a part of the a sanding belt. You can rip them off in strips. They rip just like cloth does. It follows a seam. This one is a very worn one, so it's not too stiff. It's an old one, an old piece of one. So I'm going to use that to do some sanding here. Well, I took some time on and off camera to do some sanding, and I think I've got it just about right. Let me see, can I bring this up and get it to focus? It's kind of a chubby bait, but I've got some KVDs that are like that, and I really like them. They really give quite a wobble in the water. And I don't know if the fish like it, but I know when I fish with them, I do. I think I'm doing well with them, but maybe the fish don't. This is just about right. I do know that I had to do a lot of sanding by hand afterwards also. And I've learned the hard way from making furniture that your finish is only as good as the smoothness of the wood underneath. So this was finished off with an 80 grit paper, and I'll eventually work my way up to about maybe a 240, and that'll be smooth enough. And this will be ready to drill holes for the eyelets and to make the eyelets, and eventually to paint. And I'm looking forward to that. The hardest thing to do with this was getting the symmetry. If you don't have symmetry, like on one side if it's flatter than the other or bulges out more, I would imagine that it would pull to one side in the water, or it would wobble more to one side and less on the other. So it's really, you can mark it and you can measure it as much as you want, but what it boils down to is kind of eyeballing it at the end and looking at it and see where the bulges are and see where the flat spots are from one side to the other. And I don't think it matters that much what the sides look like as long as they're the same, as long as there's bilateral symmetry. And I think I've pretty much got that. Eyeballing it here, I think it's going to be okay. I'm really cranked about this crankbait. God, I hope when I paint it, it doesn't look like it was painted by some kindergarten with finger paints. We'll find out.